Hi, this is the CEO of 22nd Century New Technologies Company, Incorporated. This movie is about what tools you have to use to look for gold in the Adirondack Mountains. And I'm going to start with a lot of them that you don't normally think about when you're out west, where you just go where somebody else find gold before. This is from the Adirondack Museum. The Adirondack Mountains have an uplift growth rate of about a foot every 100 years, which is about 12 inches per 100 years, 0.12 inches per year. So Adirondack Mountains, every 100 years, it goes up 12 inches.
Howdy folks, I'm Keith Bowen and this is Hard Rock University. Today's lesson is, where does gold come from? This is a gold-bearing quartz vein in southern Arizona, and in a certain way, this is where gold comes from. However, the story starts long before this vein was formed and much farther underground. Tens of millions of years ago in southern Arizona, we went through a long period of volcanic activity. During this activity, molten rock from deep in the earth called magma would rise toward the Earth's surface and form magma chambers. And they got to weak areas in the rock. As the magma chamber would fill, the surface above it would rise, and most importantly for our purposes, cracks would form. If magma kept intruding into this chamber, eventually it would find one of these cracks and work its way to the Earth's surface, and it would erupt and form a volcano. Now, here we have the cracks from which we form veins. Where did the minerals come from? Inside the magma, kind of as steam dissolved in the molten rock, is water. And as the magma would cool, that water would condense and liquefy and dissolve a substantial amount of minerals, which could then be moved into and deposited into the cracks. In addition, assuming you have a water table, which we have almost everywhere on the planet, groundwater would work its way in from the sides, get heated by the magma chamber, and rise. As it would rise up through these cracks, near the bottom where it was really hot, it would dissolve minerals, and as it got cooler, it would eventually start losing those minerals, dropping them out of solution in a process called precipitation. Now, as these minerals precipitated, here is a crack in the rock with solution moving through it. By the way, these solutions are called hydrothermal solutions. Basically means hot water. But as the hydrothermal solutions would move through the cracks, if it's in a cooling zone, it would start depositing like scale on the sides of the cracks, just like scale forms in a pipe, except this is a lot different mineral. Scale in pipes usually calcium carbonate. This would generally be quartz, various metallic sulfides like pyrite, chalcopyrite, galena, things like that, and gold and silver. As time went on, assuming the process continued, didn't shut itself off somehow, this crack would completely fill up with minerals, and you now have a vein. Now, there's a structure that looks a lot like a vein called a dike. Basically, one of these cracks gets filled with magma and then it cools. But a dike looks substantially different than a vein. They're not easily mistaken for one another. The other way you get ore deposits from these hydrothermal solutions, if they're moving through a porous bedrock, spongy enough to allow the water to move directly through it, then it can start precipitating quartz still embedded in bedrock, along with smaller pieces of loose rock called float that start at the vein and continue downhill from it. If the quartz had a lot of weathered sulfides in it, it would generally be stained red to reddish brown and might be called a skarn, but outcrop is more common. Outcrop is also more likely accurate because skarn is technically the name given to a particular type of metamorphic rock. Skarns may outcrop, but outcrops are rarely true skarns. Anyhow, as the vein weathers and breaks down over time, any gold in it becomes part of the soil next to and downhill from the vein. This gold in close proximity to the rock from which it is weathered is called a residual placer. Since the largest gold particles tend to move the least, a residual placer is a good place to try metal detecting. Downhill from the residual placer until it reaches the first watercourse will be what is called an eluvial placer or hillside placer. It can be rather arbitrary trying to draw a line between the residual and alluvial placers, but sometimes there is a marked change in the concentration of gold. In the long run, it doesn't really matter what you call it, so long as you know it's there. Once the gold reaches the nearest stream bed or river, it becomes part of what is known as an alluvial placer or streambed placer. Irregularities in the bedrock or channel can form a natural gold trap and concentrate large quantities of gold over many years. Any gold that doesn't get trapped will tend to move downstream during floods in a preferred path, and when the water recedes, the sediments will stop moving, and those zones of gold along that preferred path.
Adirondack Park Agency, Geology of the Adirondack Mountains. The Adirondack Mountains have been here 0.5% of the time the Earth has been here. Although the dome, as we know it, that must be because it's round more or less, is really recent development, having emerged about 5 million years ago, is made of ancient rocks more than 100 million years old. Hence, the Adirondack are new mountains from old rocks. And I told you about our glaciers.
Oklahoma's not known for gold.
I understand that. I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be nice about the whole thing. But you have found gold on this property in the past.
Yeah, we find gold, and that's our claim. We can find gold.
I wanted to surprise Mike with a test, my panning versus his gold cube for ultra fine gold recovery. And I've got a half ounce of some very fine, this is 60 minus. I mean, it's 60 minus.
Oklahoma Nuggets.
Oklahoma Nuggets.
Yeah.
But this is what you generally look at when you're out on Lake Superior.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to be working a lot of that same material. What I want to do is I want to do a test or a challenge or
some spanking.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. What I want to do is I want to pan this down, see what my recovery is on the first pass. Just the first pass panning. Get it back up. We're going to weigh the material again, and then I want to take all the material. It's going to be wet, and we're going to run it through the gold cube, and I want to see what the recovery is.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Okay.
I had no troubles with it at all. I wasn't afraid. There's nothing to stage. I mean, it is what it is. The gold cube is like a cube it or lose it type thing. I have no problem with it.
$241.
Yep, 241.
All right, into the pot.
Goodbye. Look at all those black sand streaks and stuff in there. You're gonna have fun.
Most of the gold was below 100 mesh. Now, for me, that's easy panning, but it's time-consuming panning.
All right, you do that. I'm gonna take a break. You're gonna be a while.
Yeah, I know. Now you're having to take a lot of time. You know, when you're panning something like that, you go through the first time, you break it all up, you get the larger pieces out, you get everything that you can get on that first run. Then you go back to the second run and you get that material, and it becomes a process that goes on and on and on until you feel like you've got all of the gold recovered.
Now, when you weigh this back up, you're gonna be weighing that black sand you're picking up, aren't you?
Well, I'm going to do I am going to do a final pan.
Okay.
Sweet. I think we got it all. All right. Cool. We got our recovery. We can see that there's some visible loss.
Right.
And that's one pan through the entire material.
And the safety.
And then a quick pan of the safety pan. So
180 grains. I need to get 304 grains in that bottle sitting on that scale.
exactly. Hand me the gold.
What gold? It's hard to dump it, isn't it?
After I've been panning it for over an hour,
You got some sweat equity
really
built in there. What you do is you make sure that all of that is pointed uphill in there. Look at all that gold. Isn't that cool? Just about as fast as you can get that stuff in there, the gold cube's gonna take it. Man, this is sloppy. See, it just busted loose. Most of it just busted right loose. You feed it into the slick plate, it starts spreading everything out. As soon as all that stuff spreads out, it goes down into the G4 separator. It throws the gold to the outside edge, drops it into the mat. The mat holds onto it. At the end of the day, like you can run it for 5 minutes, you can run it for 15 hours. It doesn't matter. It's not going to discharge any of your gold. See how that busted right loose? Yeah. Okay, we're good. Do a cleanup.
We're done.
We're done. Now, let's take... Oh, that is awesome. So we'll be able to just take this and spray out the mats right into this tub. And we can get a nice cleanup on this without worrying about running out of water or losing our gold. All right, we're just gonna set that down in there. We've got all of our gold stuck in the bottom of our pan. We're just gonna start just moving our gold in. We're gonna get it moved to the bottom first, and then let it all run into the pan. Easy as can be. From that first pan, equals just that much. That's all I've got to find all that gold it took you an hour to get. That's all I got to go through. What do you think of that? Does that look kind of cool?
Gold, it's gold, man. Of course it looks cool.
Of course it looks cool. I'm ready to weigh it.
You're satisfied?
Does that look like a little more than what you had?
Tad bit.
Yeah.
Tad bit.
Ready?
Yep.
And the number is?
I'm sold.
Sweet.
I'm sold.
And I had fun doing it. I tell you what, I appreciate you.
Chuck, I'm going to appreciate you when I'm taking this thing across the East Coast and I'm pulling gold out that a lot of people are missing.
The 49ers left us
Gonna
all
be
that
showing
fun.
you
Yeah.
the high
We're
banker that
not
goes
leaving
on
any
top
for
of
our
it.
kids. Sorry, kids.
Why win?
We've got everything hooked up. We've got the gold banker with water running through it, all the way through the gold cube. We've got all the bubbles worked out of the mat. We're ready to go. Our last indication is actually how well the water is exiting the gold cube. Have a look down here. See how nice and even that water is across there? About the same amount on the left and the right, that's good. We know we're going to have full dispersion of material, and we'll be able to optimize our gold retention. Hey Red, appreciate you coming out and helping me today.
No problem. I was just wandering down the creek here, you know. And I saw you over here. I thought maybe you might need some help.
Well, I'll tell you what, neither one of us are smart enough to make this, but between the two of us, one brain, we got it.
Right.
Well, let's throw some dirt in there, all right?
Let me help you out here on this pump. There we go.
Hey, we got water. Good deal. All right.
Here, I'll push it off for you.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of neat how, especially with two people working, one of them that's using the shovel, when he gets tired of shoveling, we can actually put him on the gold banker running the stuff off. If you're just out here doing this by yourself, you can actually just take the shovel, you just kind of push it around a little bit with a shovel and pull it off yourself. But it's really nice when you got a couple people out there. Oh, there's a money shot there. There's gold in that one. And one of the really nice things about the gold banker is when you've got a place that you're just testing, those 3 drop riffles that are in.
Don't be lazy. Hit that subscribe button. God wasn't lazy when he made, after he made heaven and earth, he made the universe. And he made man so good that a chiropractor can work on his back and it will lower his blood pressure. And if you're one of these people that takes medicine and it lowers the immune system, you can tell that because the medicine people say that you take this medicine, you can catch something bad. A chiropractor can work on that to get that fixed too. This message is for you if you are a United States citizen. Public Land Law number 82 states that any gold or any kind of a mineral you find on state land, it's yours. So check out our Rhyolite volcano movies and you will see if it was out west, they would have gold all over the volcanoes. And also you will see in our movies nowhere in Canada in the Canadian Shield there's any mountains high enough that would take glaciers that was 32 tons and stands 11 feet high, which is called Sunday Rock in South Colton. So sometime you want to think about taking your vacation here in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. That is, if you're a citizen, United States citizen. And gold right now is at over $1,900 a troy ounce. How to gold pan like a pro. Get more gold.
Here, Nevada Jack, you can have that.
Thank you.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to classify. So a lot of guys like to classify wet, which is a good idea. It's pay dirt from a river. Now, I'm not going to put a lot in there, just a little bit. All right. That's probably good right there for starters. Here, Nevada Jack, you can have that.
Thank you.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to classify. So a lot of guys like to classify wet, which is a good idea. Now, I highly recommend that you classify your material wet. In case there's any gold on it, it gets washed off because gold will get trapped in clay that gets stuck to the rocks. All right, so you're gonna classify material. Don't throw it away. It could be a juicy nugget stuck in there. All right, now come here. I'm gonna show you the principles of panning. We have all our material in the pan. You see that? It's been classified down. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this to represent a gold nugget. Now see, when it's dry, it just sits there. It don't do nothing. You see what I'm saying? All right, but if I shake that pan, watch what happens. Look at that. You see that? It disappeared. Where did it go? It went right to the bottom. Okay, that's a process called stratification. You're stratifying that material. And I've liquefied the material, which made the heavier stuff, which is the gold, drop to the bottom, and any other things like black sand, hematite, and magnetite. Now, gold has a specific gravity of 19.3, which means it's 19.3 times heavier than water, and about 3 to 5 times heavier than black sand. Ooh, sounds like Sasquatch back there. So, what that means is that when you agitate the material, you create liquefaction, and you stratify all the material, so all the heavier stuff goes to the bottom of the pan, and all the lighter stuff comes to the top. And that's what you want to do. And that's why you see the guys out there gold pan. First thing they do, what do? They shake that pan back and forth, or they'll swirl it like this. What they're doing is they're getting that heavier gold to drop to the bottom. And that's what I just did with that big old chunky piece of gold. All right, so what are we going to do? All right, so like I told you, this material has got to be in water or underwater in order for the heavier stuff to go to the bottom. If you keep the water out and it's dry, it's hard and it's compact. See, there's my piece of gold right there. See it right there? All right, so what am I gonna do? Well, I'm gonna go counterclockwise like this. And that ensures that any gold goes right to the bottom. Now, what am I gonna do next? Making sure I keep water on there. I'm gonna tilt the pan forward like such, but I gotta keep water in it. So I'm gonna tilt it forward, then I'm gonna shake back and forth, and I'm gonna, like an ocean wave, back and forth, back and forth. Then, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna bring that material, because if there's any gold in there, it's gonna be right up here on this little riffle right here. See that? I gotta bring it back into the pan. So, what am I gonna do? Swirl around again, shake back and forth. As I'm shaking back and forth like this, I'm gonna start tilting the pan forward, like this. And what that does is that ensures that that gold is down here in the bottom of this crease. And then I'm gonna gently wash that lighter material off the top like that. See that? Okay, round and round, back and forth, start to tilt forward, wash, about 3 or 4 times. You can see that gold coming up. Now what I'm doing is, when I'm circulating that, I'm bringing that material back away from the edge of these riffles right here. I want it away from there, circulating to the bottom. Round and round, back and forth, start to tilt forward, then gently wash that lighter material right off the top. See how that big chunk of gold stays there? And as you get better, you use one hand, round and round, shake back and forth, gently wash. See, no matter what I do, that piece of gold ain't coming out of there. Okay, and when I get down to about, I don't know, tablespoon material, then I'm gonna back swirl. I'll show you how to do that. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna have all your heavies right up here in this crease right here. See that? Right there in that crease. Of course, that's my big chunk of gold. I'll take him out of there so you can understand what's happening. So when you get down, you're gonna give it about 3 taps. 1, 2, 3. And what that does is that makes sure that all that gold goes down in that crease right there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna gently take that water and swirl and swirl and swirl until if you have any gold, it's gonna be right there. Now, as you get better at doing this, what I like to do is, when I got down to this material here, this little tiny bit, what I'll do, you gotta have water in the pan, tap, 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 and then what I'll do is as I'm bringing this down, I'll shake it like this. And you'll see me do that a lot. And that way I can get all that black sand material to flush away. And if I got any gold, it'll be up there in the top corner. And I'll illustrate what I'm talking about. Now, another trick that some guys will do is they'll do what's called the Alabama bump. So, first thing you're gonna need if you're gonna gold pan, what is that? That's right, you're gonna need a gold pan. And of course, you know me, I love the Garrett Super Sluice. Now, when you buy a Garrett Super Sluice, it's usually gonna come with one of these. It's classifier, see that? This would be considered a number 2 because there's 2 openings per linear inch. I'll go over that some other time. Okay, Next, what do you gotta have? You gotta have yourself some dirt. That's right. Ooh, where's Slim's not here, is he? Ooh, he's always sneaking up on me. Thanks for that, Jack. Ooh, look at that pay dirt. Just like Mama used to make. Ooh, but it don't taste as good. Ugh. Okay, so you're gonna need some dirt. You don't need to classify it yet. That's what that classifier is for. Okay, so what else are you gonna need? Well, I strongly recommend one of these. It's called a snuffer bottle. It's not a sniffer bottle, it's a snuffer bottle. And you're gonna want a 45 angle, cut that on the top, and you wanna make sure that it's got a good trap in the bottom too. Okay, and you need one of these scoops because you need something to dig with. And of course, a lot of people don't talk about this, but this little guy right here, it's called a jeweler's loop. This is a 10 times, you can go up to a 20, a 30, a 40, but 10 times strong or stronger jeweler's loop. You're gonna need this to inspect to see if you got gold in your pan. I like this one, old timer gave it to me. I use it for inspecting for fine gold. Okay, and then if you don't have any gold, you can use these copper BBs. They're really great to practice with because if you can get down to this and you can get down to gold. And then of course, I tell people to get these lead pellets and you can hammer them flat. And that way they resemble a gold nugget. And that's what I like to do when I show people how to practice. We're gonna go over need. Well, I strongly recommend one of these. It's called a snuffer bottle. It's not a sniffer bottle, it's a snuffer bottle. And you're gonna want a 45 angle, cut that on the top. And you want to make sure that it's got a good trap in the bottom too. Okay, and you need one of these scoops because you need something to dig with. And of course, a lot of people don't talk about this, but this little guy right here, it's called a jeweler's loop. This is a 10 times, you can go up to a 20, a 30, a 40, but 10 times strong or stronger jeweler's loop. You're gonna need this to inspect to see if you got gold in your pan. I like this one, old timer gave it to me. I use it for...
Okay, that's enough of that. I've got some dirt here, and we got some material from around here, and I'm going to show you my favorite way to use scissors and the world. This is Mike Punk from Gold Cube. We're going to talk about the banjos, dueling banjos. Okay, that's enough of that. I've got some dirt here, and we got some material from around here, and I'm going to show you my favorite way to use the banjo pan.
Oh, so we let him do all that. Oh,
So here's the beta tester one. Nice flat bottom, got the vortex mat, and just like any vortex mat that we ever use in the Gold Cube or anywhere, you gotta get it wet, you gotta get the bubbles out of it. So that's what we're gonna do next. All right, the way to use this thing, I've seen a lot of people taking to stab it in the water. Well, that's not the way to use it. All right, what we're gonna do, we just put it underwater, get our rocks, big ones to scrape them out, and we're gonna go like back and forth. We just need to get everything stratified. We're gonna scoop. And as you're going back and forth, you're liquefying your material. And then you can just keep doing that time after time. Put a whole 5-gallon bucket through there, doesn't matter. And then when you're done, you just take and you just backflush back into the pan. Everything's going back into the pan. And then you're gonna have that material that's in the corner there. Okay, here's another batch of some more sand. Got a lot of sandy stuff in there. Anything that won't fit down there, you can pull it out. Everything else that's big, you can leave it in there because it's going to pour right out. Stratify and pour. Back it up. Stratify and pour. Back it up. Stratify and pour. It's nice to have that drop ripple in there because if there's any big nuggets, they're going to get trapped right in there. And all of our fine gold is going to be right here inside the mat. So now we're just going to hold it on a little bit of an angle, and we're going to flush all this stuff back. All right, we got the drop ripple cleaned out. No nuggets in there, darn it. All right, now we've got this material that's inside the pan area. We can hold this thing. I like holding this thing to where this is up on an angle. If you got this thing.
A short ad will show you fishers doing things that nobody saw before. And you will see that the fisher's nervous system is not like humans. Fisher Castle. 6 DVD, first part. Remember, PBL 82, U.S. citizens, United States citizens can look for gold in New York State. That if you were a college teacher, 10 years, 15, 20, whatever it is, you're not a United States citizen, you can't look for gold and dig it here on the state land. Same with a college degree. Same as people here with green cards or no matter what. You're just a United States citizen.
Wherever there is a bend, the inside of the curve, which is slow, and the outside is fast. Okay, so when we're talking slow and fast, this is in flood. So clear out to these dashed lines. The slow side, wherever it slows down just enough, is where the gold will start to fall out and deposit. It's going to sift through the material as it's tumbling down the stream and deposit itself as close to bedrock or a false bedrock, if it's clay or a concreted material. It'll sit on top of whatever it can't move through during those high flows. So what you're going to be looking for are these little bends. And then primarily where you're going to start working is on the leading edge, as well as through the trailing edge of these bends. So this area, this area, this area, and this area. And what you're going to want to do is start sampling across these in a fashion that finds that streak, that line. If you go down and you're not following the right area, you can be within a foot of a really serious concentration of gold and you won't find it, typically 3 feet. You'll oftentimes find colors, a few flakes of gold in your pan, but you won't find any serious amounts. But if you go crosswise, and we'll talk about that later in sampling, then you can start finding where the gold is. So this is the thing you want to watch for, is these bends, and basically you want to go and find these areas and start working them. And I'll have more on that later about how you can identify where the bends are, which ones are the best looking bends, and what anomalies in a stream bed might trap gold. More on that later.
So when you dig these, make sure you fill them back up so you won't irritate fishermen. Same way when you're looking for gold in the woods, fill your holes back up so you won't irritate hunters and trappers and walkers. Make sure you fill your holes that you dig back up.
Hey, it's Prospector Jess here. If you want more videos like this, make sure you go on over to huntingforgold.com. That's hunting4gold.com, where we have additional videos for you only available on huntingforgold.com's site. Check it out, and good prospecting.
I have to put in an advertisement now for the Adirondack Mountains. My name is Gareth Tooley. I'm the CEO of 22nd Century New Technologies Company, Incorporated. I got this name a long time ago because I looked at small, very small stocks. One of these stocks made scrubbers for CO2 scrubbers for electric coal burning smokestacks. These scrubbers took out CO2. This is what Biden is worried about. Everybody knows that they made fire extinguishers from CO2 because the CO2 would go down to the ground and stay there and smother the fires. And a long time ago, there was a guy that had tuberculosis. He went up to the Adirondack Mountains. In 3 weeks, he was cured. In that 3 weeks, when he went there, he thought he was going to die. So he made a tuberculosis hospital where they fixed tuberculosis. That's how clean the air is up in the Adirondack Mountains. And when it gets 20 to 30 degrees outside, the cold weather takes all this CO2 right down to the ground. Captain Joe says, when you look up the air and see the jets going by, and you see fumes behind it, that's just like your breath when you're outside cleaning your windshield wipers. So you can think of Al Gore when he's flying around in his jet. He's helping the planet because all that jet fumes, CO2, is going down to the ground and into the ocean. And he's saving the seaweeds to be grown. So he's saving the planet.
Take your best, Mr. Chairman. Panelists, let me just go right down the line real fast. What % of our atmosphere is CO2? Take your best guess. You don't have to be accurate. All down the line.
Repeat that question.
What % of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide? Wild guess, it's okay.
About 5%.
Right?
I'll just follow you then.
We'll go 7.
I'll see their 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2, so that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
Right? How about you? I didn't hear you, Mr. Dreyer.
7.
7. Do you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5, 7,
Price is right.
8. I'm gonna get the high end.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and I don't mean to I put you on ice. I ask a lot of people that because all we hear is climate change, CO2, CO2. I heard a couple of you on the panel saying you're looking to change your vehicles to electric, even though we don't have the electric grid. And me as a farmer, I wouldn't be real happy about running out and replacing $300,000, $500,000, $1 million pieces of equipment because someone wants it to be electric. The answer is 0.04%. Not 1%, not a half of a percent. It's 0.04%. It's gone up from 0.03 over the last couple decades. This is what we're being all contorted into doing, is this tiny change in CO2. If we get below 0.02, plant life starts dying off. So let me ask Mr. Boyd, what are a lot of your vehicles Tier 4 already, or the vehicles that you know about in the industry?
Yes.
All right, so that's the cleanest burning diesel equipment you can get, right?
Yes.
All right. How about Mr. Dreyer? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay. So why would anybody be anxious to go out and change out all those vehicles that you've been upgrading? In my home state of California, CARB has eliminated lots of equipment. Trucks, we're down at least 70,000 truckers, and all because they don't make a mandate for a 2011 a newer vehicle. And so it's going to be harder to get things from the ports, all that. So,
Well, the CEO thinks the best. This is the best for looking for gold and sand. And what is the best if you can't afford it? And the out west, the old timers, when they looked for gold, they dug a ditch and they piled rocks and sand along the edge of it. And if the natives of Adirondack Mountains see this, they report you, Department of Conservation Office, DEC. They'll report you because they have a law in the Adirondack Mountains that you can't even walk on a plant because a long time ago they cut down trees miles and miles away, and you can't even walk on a plant now. But they let trappers dig a dirt hole set to catch predators. So I think part one of this 4-part series is done now.